reliable heating and air conditioning products in the DMV, and they make Santana Moss possible right now. Tana, good to have you on, Grant and Danny, and happy playoff football, buddy. What's up?
What's up, Grant?
How are you, man?
Doing, man?
Good, buddy.
Dude, how about that game?
Good.
You were sitting right behind me for much of the night in Tampa. It was back and forth constantly. It was one of those high-energy, high-nerve games. Do you feel that now that you're not a player when you're sitting there watching that the nerves in your stomach, or do you still have the player gene where you don't really feel that?
Man, you don't know what I've been going through the last. I've been retired for 10+ years now. Like, it is nerve-wracking to sit there and watch a game, especially of a team that you just feel like you put everything in that you ever had in your soul when you was once a part of it, and now you still putting everything in it because you're that much of a fan. I mean, bro, like, I have to go to games, and I honestly had to tell myself, like, Tanner, I always pray. I still find myself doing some of the same things I did as a player. I pray every morning before the game, like, hoping for us to have victory or whatever. Guys would come out of that thing injury-free. But I always tell myself, as long as it's a great game, I care less what happens with the score. And they gave us a great game, but then now you find yourself at the end of it saying, okay, it was a good game, but now I want to win. So, man, it's nerve-wracking, but it's great to watch, too.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's a privilege to feel, that queasy feeling in your stomach for a game that matters so much, which is different than meeting those football down the stretch, Santana. So going to what you can take out of that Tampa game, right, where you go, okay, I know that we can do that now. Let's see what happens against Detroit. Like, what can we translate from one game to the next year against a really, really good opponent?
I think one thing I translated from this team all year long, it didn't really matter who the opponent, and I find it odd week in and week out because, we all do this thing where we're basically watching the team, we're analyzing the team, we're telling you what we think the strengths and the weaknesses are. But what they've shown time and time again is, look, bro, they have a motto. What is it called? Anytime, anybody, anywhere. You know how that stuff go. I don't even know the whole line, but it's true. Like, they really don't care who the opponent is. As long as they handle business, take care of themselves, then they have a chance. And so that's how I look at Detroit now. We can look at, Detroit, and let's give them credit. They're a juggernaut. They're one of those teams that you don't want to be caught up in a shootout with. But that's what they've been doing. Lately, they've been allowing teams to score, and they've been doing the same thing. I think what this team has shown us that when the tough gets going, the going gets tough, they find a way to pull it out. And I love the fact that they're battle-tested. I love the fact that they went toe-to-toe with just about everybody. And when you're in the playoffs, you can scrap what you did in the regular season. It doesn't matter. Now it's time to just be your best at this given moment. And that's what you saw, Sunday night. They was their best at that given moment. Now it's time to do it again Saturday night.
It's one thing for Jayden Daniels to have been as unflappable and calm all season long as he was, but to see him in a playoff environment barely react after the game-winning field goal and just be the exact same guy as he went out and played as well as he did in Tampa. As someone who played in the league as long as you did, how impressive is that, and what does that make you think of?
I can rock with it because I understand the feeling. Being him is not taught. That's who he is. You see what I'm saying? So when you say unflappable, he's a guy that's not phased at times. I understand that because that's me. You have to understand that you can't get too high or get too low. There's going to be those moments that's going to allow you to do so. We saw how much he loved the fact that Mariota went out there and won the game in Dallas. So he has showed you that he can be that person. But sometimes when you being you and you doing things that you have done before, you can't get too high on it. Hey, it's the game. So, at that moment, I get what he was going through because no one knew that ball went in. All I heard was the doink. You know what I mean? So at the time, man, I was laughing about it because I'm like, brother, I feel you. Them nerves right there, that I had the same nerves because I was literally in the tunnel watching it. And I'm like, did that thing go in or not? And then I heard the reaction of it, saw the fans and saw the players. That's when I react. So I love the fact that he's that way because, like I said before, it's going to be different things that he experienced in this league. It's not going to always be a high. And we've seen already this year that he had some lows. But as long as you know how to understand them both, then you come out on the better side of it. And I think that's what he's shown already in his first year.
Santana Moss with us here. Oh, Grant and Danny. So, Santana, I want to ask you about the receiving group. De'Ami Brown had a fantastic game against Tampa Bay. So speaking of things that I didn't necessarily see coming, he had 30 catches on the year, was fine, but they didn't use him that way. And all of a sudden, here comes the playoffs. As you said, doesn't matter what the regular season happens. This is available now. Look at what that guy did. Just a couple huge plays for this team in playing winning football. Just what have you seen from him in general? And then kind of opposite Terry, it seems like it's been a different guy every week.
I loved everything about that performance for De'Ami. I talked to him a couple of days ago. We just taped the show, the Players Club that's going to air out this particular Saturday. I believe it's going to be Saturday night. Might air right before the game. But I told him, I say, bro, on our pregame show right before the game, I talked about all the receivers, but I spoke, well about him and just what I believe that he was for this team. And I said, we've been waiting on De'Ami Brown to be De'Ami Brown that we saw in North Carolina. And sometimes it takes longer for guys. But I said this year, the sample size that they gave him, he caught, 30 or 40 attempts. And I said, yes, true, some of those have been slip screens, but he's moved the chains with it. And sometimes as a receiver, sometimes as a playmaker, you have to settle for what they give you or do it so well to where you can't be replaced. And you saw that the other night. Sunday night, they put him in the game. They didn't know what they was going to get out of De'Ami, but De'Ami was playing so well, they didn't even want to bring him out the game. And he laughed about it because I said, I watched it because I've been watching him since day one. So I loved everything about it. And I think games like that help a guy like De'Ami really build his confidence and say, hey, I can do this consistently. That's all it's about in this league. We ask questions time after time as fans and as people who watch this game, what allows guys to be put on that pedestal? It's about the consistency, how they play the game week in and week out. That's what you see from Terry. He's been consistent from day one. And that's why we love Terry. That's why we think of him the way we think of him. De'Ami, I want him to feel what he felt Sunday night. Bring that into Saturday. Bring that momentum. Bring all that stuff that he did. Because if he can play consistently like that, we don't need to go searching for other wide receivers. He can be that guy.
Santana Moss on Grant and Danny. Tana, so much has been made about the Lions offense and all of their weapons. We're going to ask callers in a minute who scares you the most. I want your answer on that. Which of their skill guys do you worry about having the biggest day?
The running back.
Jameer Gibbs.
That bottle rocket, man. Hey, I mean, you look at a guy like him, it's almost like looking at younger, faster, I guess you can say running back that the Eagles have. Can't even think of his name.
Barkley?
I'm the brain freeze. Barkley, Saquon. They don't have the same attributes when it comes to just, physical attributes, but the way they play the game is so dynamic. Gibbs is he's a home run hitter. He's a guy that if he gets past that second line of defense, cancel Christmas because it's going to be, tough sledding. So, I love it. I love this game. I love Montgomery game too. I'm not sure how effective he's going to be with the MCL. Offensively, you got to give Goff some props. I think when he was written off from LA, man, he came to Detroit with a mindset to go out here and reclaim some of the things that he felt that he should be reclaiming as far as on his name and just say that he's a good, NFL quarterback, and he's done just that. But I think when I look at all the guys, he stands out the most. Gibbs stands out the most, but also, their receivers, both of those guys out there have 1,000 yards this year. So we have to just be ready for everybody. And that's what I love about what we have now defensively, because that's what I've seen this year. This year, you've finally seen a defense that's playing together. You know what I mean? Like for years before, we had individuals that went out there and had Pro Bowl numbers. But this defense, now this Joe Witt Jr. defense, Dan Quinn defense, they play together. Everybody's in unison, and they helping each other make plays. And, when you see a offense like Detroit Lions coming, you kind of say, you know what, we can do it. Because I've seen us do it before. I've seen us stand strong and stand tall when we play a juggernaut offense or a juggernaut team like this.
So, Santana, it feels like maybe kind of like the Tampa game. I think Washington's best defense was how long they kept the football and how effective they were, kind of those long sustained drives and getting some points. Mm-hmm. You got to do that maybe even more so this week against that juggernaut of the Detroit offense that we were talking about here. Just kind of give me your thoughts on how you do that with the run game kind of in a shaky spot. They haven't run the ball with the running backs real effectively for a couple months now, it seems like. How do you do that against that Detroit team? We'll kind of solve that puzzle for me.
Well, the way I look at it is, I try to go into it with a optimistic mindset. I think every week is going to show you something different. Yes, we haven't been running the ball that well with our running backs, but when you have the Jayden Daniels effect, you never know what it's going to bring to, that particular day according to that defense you're facing. Now, Jayden's a guy that defense has to also be mindful that if we don't be on our P's and Q's, he can break outside this pocket and it could be all hell for us. So with that being said, when I'm watching film and I'm watching some of these other guys, like when I watched the Buffalo tape, Josh Allen gave him hell. And they didn't know at times when Josh Allen was going to have the ball running or not. And when he didn't pull, guess what? Cook out the backfield for a long game. So that's how I look at it. I'm saying to myself, can we take a little bit from every team that they faced that had a quarterback similar to ours that used his legs well and bring that kind of game plan or show them some of the things that they saw in that game that handicapped them a little bit, stopping the run. I don't look at it so much as we haven't been doing it ourselves personally. I look at the matchups. I think when you look at some of the matchups that we've had, especially going against the Tampa defense that, top 3, top 4 in the league and stopping the run, it was going to be tough sledded. But we still found a way that even though we couldn't get those big runs that we wanted, every now and then we got 2, 3, 4 yards and gave us, those downs where we had favorable downs to go out there and advance and get those first downs. So that's how I look at this game. This might be one of those games where you see our running backs now get more into the, the swing of things because this defense has to pay attention to both Jayden and, B-Rob and Eckler in the backfield.
Santana, what kind of crowd turnout from Burgundy and Gold fans do you expect? It was pretty amazing in Tampa, but it seems like everything's more expensive to get to Detroit. It seems like there's more Lions fans that are going to, turn out. The prices for tickets are out of this world. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't expect nothing less. I think all season long, I'm not sure how many trips you've been on this year, Grant, man, but everywhere we've been, man, New Orleans, you name it, our fans have, they're risen. They followed. They made sure they was there for their team. So I don't expect nothing less. I understand that it's been a long time, that we've ever had this opportunity. And I think from a fan standpoint and the team standpoint, sometimes you only get one shot, and this is our shot. So you have to go out there with that kind of mindset. So I expect our fans to show up and show out.
Santana, awesome to talk to you as always, buddy. It's cool that we're talking about some playoff football here in town. Enjoy the weekend.
No doubt, fellas.